Hello, beautiful alchemist. Welcome to season 10 of Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda. And to kick off the new season, we are actually having an episode air earlier than we usually do. We usually have our episodes launch on Mondays, but this week is special because I wanted to make sure that you all, and myself included, are prepared for the Lunar New Year, the energy of the year of the rabbit. And not only is it the year of the rabbit, but it's the year of yin water. So it's the water rabbit. We have two beautiful guests coming to share and prepare us for this energy. You may remember them. They came on the podcast 2 years ago. They are the founders of the Mindful Design Feng Shui School, and their names are Anjie Cho and Laura Morris. So you can visit their website, Mindful Design School, and they have some new mindful design feng shui classes coming out in spring of this year. So if you are someone who is interested in the energy of space, then you definitely want to check out their classes, and they are available for all levels. Another thing I wanted to let you know is part of the reason we wanted to make sure the episode got to you today is not just because the Lunar New Year is on Sunday, but the day before, which is tomorrow, Saturday, Anjie and Laura are hosting a class to literally help us reset our energy to prepare for this Lunar New Year. So they have a class tomorrow that starts at 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Eastern. Even if you can't come live, you can still access the recording if you sign up for the class. And they have generously provided a 50% discount for our listeners. So if you go down in the show description right now, sign up for the class. At the very least, if you can't come live, you can watch it at your own time. The recording will be available until February 21st. But what they're going to do is guide us through these ceremonies. One is called the Golden Cicada Clearing Ceremony to really reset our energy for this new year. But they also have this beautiful welcoming New Year prosperity ceremony that they will also guide us through to help us prepare for the Lunar New Year. So this is going to be fantastic. I'm actually going to be there myself, so I will see you there. The link again is down in the show description. Aside from that, Anjie and Laura, they have actually been teaching feng shui for quite some time. They have both learned from the same teacher, they learned through the same lineage, same school. And if you want more detail about their school itself, go back in the archives. You'll see that I interviewed them 2 years ago with more detail about that. But another really cool thing is that Anjie, I believe she's authored a couple of books about feng shui, but she has a new one called Mindful Homes that will be coming out in April of this year. And as we discuss in the podcast, I mean, really think about it for a second. Because of what we've all gone through collectively in the last few years, all of us have come into different relationship with environments. So not only have we been spending more time at home, a lot of us are now working from home where perhaps we weren't before. And then because of all we've encountered, we all have this extra sensitivity to environments, like we're hyper aware of the environments that we go into, who and what we're surrounded by. And so it's really interesting to think about how beneficial it can be to understand a system like feng shui in these times. So if you want to learn more about their school, again, just visit Mindful Design School. The link is down in the show description. I hope to see you in the class tomorrow so that we can do our clearing in preparation for the new year. I want to say thank you so much again to Anjie and Laura for coming last minute to share this information with us, and I will see you beauties on the other side. Okay, so we are back with Mindful Design School, Anjie Cho and Laura Morris. I want to thank you both for coming back to the podcast. I can't believe it's been 2 years since we've spoken, but welcome back. And thank you so much for coming to explain to us what we can expect for the Lunar New Year.
Thank you so much for having us. It's so nice to be back. I can't believe, what did we say? It's been 2 years.
2
2 years, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Crazy.
I think this time frame has just been so confused and accelerated and lost all kinds of ways to describe it for everyone. It seems like no matter what you say, people are like, I can't believe that much time has gone by. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it
definitely
really has.
condensed everything. I can't believe,
did.
yeah, it's
At
like,
the same
yeah.
time, it condensed everything, so it feels like it's been a decade.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels both long and short at the same
A
time.
decade that started yesterday. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Oh, this is fun. I like this get to have conversations with two people at once. But I'm thankful that you all came back. And I just want to remind everyone that we had a whole episode about your beautiful business, the Mindful Design School, 2 years ago again. So you can look back in the archives and listen to that conversation. But today, again, thank you for such short notice agreeing to come and talk about the energy that we're moving into with the year of the rabbit and yin water. And I know that you're going to explain both, but can you first talk a little bit about the energy we're coming out of the year of the tiger?
Mhm.
Yeah, Laura, do you want to get started?
Yeah, so we're moving out of the water tiger into the water rabbit. So they're both water elements as the element of the year, but the tiger was yang water and it was a tiger. So very dynamic, very active, energy creative, big wood energy. And it's shifting now into a much quieter yin energy. So the tiger might have felt a bit crazy for some people, a bit of a ride. And we're hoping that this, like the nice little rabbit, is going to provide us some peace.
Yeah, like one thing I think about with the tiger and the rabbit is that in the Asian system, they both have this fixed element of wood, which is about energy and life. And you think of a tiger, and tiger so ferocious, it's a very strong, ferocious animal, whereas the rabbit is actually probably hunted, and it's an animal of prey. So they're both swift, like rabbits are known for their speed, but so are tigers, like in a different way. So it's like this interesting contrast between this ferocious, very strong, fierce energy, and then shifting into this more sensitive energy of the rabbit.
So with you all saying that, I just want to ask, I mean, it could be completely off, but it sounds to me more of like maybe in the year of the tiger, there's more even audacity, whereas maybe in the year of the rabbit, it feels a little more methodical. Maybe,
Yeah.
is it that way or?
Yeah, rabbits are cunning. Methodical is yeah, one way you could say it. It's tigers are bold.
Okay.
And rabbits have to be, they're forced to be more strategic and more cunning and more diplomatic. And I think what we could see is that maybe what worked in the year of the tiger, kind of the go get 'em, let's just get out there and do stuff because we've, whatever reason, and, just jump on it, is going to shift to something where let's sit back and see what we're jumping into.
Yeah.
Right? Because because rabbits have to be very careful because they're small and they're vulnerable.
Yes, and they have to rely on camouflaging themselves. They have to rely on hiding. So it's a different strategy, because I think tigers are also very strategic too, but it's just a different place because they're not an animal of prey. Like, how would it feel like to be an animal of prey? As humans, we're kind of on top of the food chain. And so it's a different sort of sensing and touching into, your environment with a higher level of sensitivity.
Very interesting. So I know we're going to go deeper into what this energy is like, and you all will even share with us some feng shui tips and what each zodiac sign can expect. But before we go into that, just want to ask you very quickly to clarify, because some people may not be as familiar with Chinese astrology, whereas with Western astrology, the signs change almost every 30 days. But in this system, it's more of an annual, and it doesn't fall on the exact day every year. So could you explain just a little bit of the difference between the Western versus Chinese astrology and how to figure out your sign?
Well, actually, the interesting thing about the Chinese system and this system of astrology, it's called the four pillars. That's another way to, another thing that it's called, because there's four pillars, and actually there is an animal for each year, but in fact there's four pillars. So there's a year pillar, a year animal. There's also an animal for your month. There's also an animal for your day and an animal for your hour. And then there's larger cycles as well. And the month animals follow the same pattern as the Western zodiac, except that they occur halfway in between. So I don't know exactly off the top of my head each transition, but like say Leo is from, you know, this date, and because I know I'm born on the cusp of Leo, so it ends around the 21st of August, because that's my birth date. So the transition for the animal that is in that month is actually like around 15 days before that or 14 days before that. So it's the same, it's actually the same cycle, but most people are very accustomed to the year zodiac. And when you work with a four pillars consultant, like, and Laura and I are not four pillars experts, we use this in conjunction with feng shui and look at kind of the larger energy shifts and cycles. But if you worked with a Chinese astrologer, they will actually calculate all of your four animals. And in fact, they say that usually your day animal, the day, what they call the day master, is your kind of more, it affects you way more. It's more indicative. It's what they look at more carefully than your year animal. But the year animal is also important too, because I would say that I think because in Asia we have more of a sense of the community rather than the individual. Maybe that's why, that might be why the emphasis was on the year, because it kind of brings together a larger group of people and looks at a larger cycle.
That's really interesting. So now I have to figure out how to find out what my day animal is. Is that pretty easy to find online? Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, there's
for that,
calculators. If you go, there's Batsi or four pillar it's also called Batsi. Batsi or four pillars is there are calculators you can do, and that, so you'll have in your day pillar, you'll have an animal and you'll have an element. And that element, because everything is a branch, they call them branches and stems, not to get too technical, but, and then that element itself is what you would, but again, it's a big picture thing. So, you know, if you had a Batsi specialist or a four pillar astrologer do it for you, they would take that element, and that's how they sort of look at how the years look for you year over year. So that when we look at it every year, when Angie and I do our reset, we do a whole bunch of rituals, because it's obviously a really important time for feng shui and for modalities that align with feng shui. It is about, we won't, you know, we don't kind of get into all of the details of that because it's incredibly complicated, but we like to look at the animals because it gives you a sense of awareness about how you could maybe walk through the year. And it's a nice way to look at it from really a big level energy. And today, when we go through each animal, we're going to kind of approach it that way. We're going to say, okay, what's sort of an inspiring way you should approach this energy this year? Because people can get a little bit stressed about this, right? They're like, oh my gosh, it's a clash, or it's this, or it's that. So that's the beauty, the fact that you don't just have the one rat you actually have a whole bunch of other pillars that balances it all out. So, you know, you might think, oh my gosh, my year's a clash, but there's so much more to it. So that's why we try not to get too, you know, not negative, but get too, you know, stuck on that, because understanding that A, everything is cyclical, and B, there's so many nuances to it that most likely, you know, you have the energies that you need to weather this year, given the other pillars.
But Yolanda, I could tell you if you tell us if you don't mind sharing your month of birth and your hour of birth, I could
Yes,
tell
I
you.
will. Absolutely. The 22nd is the day, and the hour is 7:45 a.m.
Okay, so, but what month is it?
January.
Okay, so January 22nd, and the time is, what is it again?
7:45 a.m.
Okay, so so you do know the transition happens on February 4th, so you're the
Right.
year prior. And so January 22nd, that would still be Ox month, right, Laura? Yeah, that would be Ox. So your month is Ox because that's month, it's basically January.
Okay.
And your hour, 7:45 a.m., falls between 7 and 9, the 7 and 9 dragon period. So you actually have two dragons. If you're a dragon year, you have dragon hour at you're between 7 and 9, and that's local time. And like for me, for instance, I'm born at 6:12 a.m. So I'm just before 7. So I'm born in the rabbit hour. And the month you can figure out the month. However, the day animal, you have to get an almanac or do some calculations. It's not as easy.
Okay. That's really good though. That's good to know. So I have some ox energy thrown in between my two dragon animals. Thank you, Angie. I really appreciate that. And since you all are saying this, I know people are probably wondering, a lot of people, interestingly, do know their Chinese zodiac, but if you don't, I will put a link to a calculator in the show description. So can you all please share with us the energy that we can work with based on our animal of the year? And then also, I know you're going to share with us a bit about the yin water.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the year overall. So let's talk
Okay.
about the rabbit and the yin water. So we know it's a rabbit year, and then the element that is associated with the year is yin water. So for the rabbit, like we talked a bit about when we were talking about a difference from the tiger, is again, a lot of what's associated energetically with the rabbit is grace, diplomacy, kindness, that sensitivity that Angie mentioned, being peaceful. Again, wood energy is associated with that. And wood energy is very compassionate, very flexible. There's a lot of nice, characteristics around that energy as well. And rabbits are considered generally, well-mannered, and they appreciate the finer things, beautiful things in life. And I think the one thing that we have been sharing a lot, especially on our Instagram feed, is, some of the higher level things that you could think about and bring to this. So for instance, rabbits are discerning because they have to be, and they're peaceful. And so there's this diplomacy that I think would serve us all really well to approach things a little bit more from that perspective. So being a little more careful with how we move forward things, looking at it from a more graceful and easeful way, as opposed to just kind of going through. Angie, do you have anything else?
There's also this connection that we touched upon to the wood element, which is the fixed element of the rabbit, which is connected to springtime and to healing and vitality. And also when you think about rabbits, they're very close to the earth, and I would even visualize them like in a tuft of grass or something, right? So there's this feeling of springtime, of new beginnings, and also in many other cultures, like Western cultures, they're related to this time, like the Easter Bunny, right?
Yeah, the hare moon, all that stuff, that it's that springtime, also fertility. There's
Fertility,
associated
that's
with
what I
it.
was
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
And healing. So there is a lot of that aligned with it. And again, because of this dawn, sunrise, springtime, this sort of concept of things starting again, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting what you guys are sharing, because bringing it to mind again, I think of a rabbit and how they're associated with speed, but then they also have that contrast of being so soft and cuddly and cute. And so it's just even starting to stir up some interesting contrast of the energy, but how we can find some harmony to work through it. Yeah, thank you for that. So, okay, so the rabbit then, since you're about to share about the different animals, is it, if you are a rabbit, is this your year, so to speak, or does it not work that way?
It doesn't really work that way, unfortunately. It's in, because this is a Taoist or a practice that comes out of Taoism. There is concepts around someone else that is supposed to be the Grand Duke or the leader of this year, and he's not really keen on sharing the spotlight with rabbits. So it's not it's not ideal. We always say, everyone thinks, yay, it's my year, but you have to be a little bit more wary as a rabbit. You can't get cocky. You have to you're going to get, you might feel like you're getting knocked down a peg a little bit. So that's why when we do our review, and so we obviously have a podcast, and so we've done a two-parter on each of the animals, and we talk about which ones need to do and what they need to do. And we say, for if you are a rabbit, there are some ceremonies that you can do just around sort of make, as I call it, like kind of buffing the sharp edges out of the year, just to make everything go a little more smoothly. So it's not going to be, we never say anything is bad, because that's just not who we are. But yeah, you might want to just be a little cautious.
Okay. So have some humility in our years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and like Laura talked about the Grand Duke, it's like you have to get out of your seat, or you have to get out of your seat and make way for someone else this year. And, some people feel very discouraged when they hear it's a challenging year. But I remember when I first started studying Feng Shui, my teacher came to my house, and my husband was in his class year. So he's a monkey and it was a tiger year. And when she told him, oh, that makes sense, you're having a challenging year because you're a monkey, he actually felt so much relief, and he was having a creative block, and that gave him, in a way, some kind of permission to allow himself to have a creative block that year.
Right.
And then in turn created more transformation, more expansion, more opportunities. So really, if you're going to look at, oh no, I have another bad year, you're creating your own negativity around it. Whereas a challenging year gives you an opportunity to grow. It gives you an opportunity to shift, because if life was always very good, that's not life. We might as well be not breathing, right? Because life is so precious, because we have these ups and downs and have moments of sadness. We have impermanence. We have difficult times, and we have really wonderful times. But if it was flat the same all the time, then we're not truly living.
Yeah, you actually remind me, one of my teachers actually just recently said, what if the challenge is the perfect energy to support your growth or purification process? So yeah, it's really cool to look at it that way. So I know that you all are going to share like a quick snippet of how we can work through the energy of the year by each animal. But because you mentioned it, I want to make sure people know as well. If you want more detail, they can listen to your podcast, and we'll absolutely have a link for that in the description. Okay, so who's going to start it off?
We can start. And you know what? I think we have time. We can quickly go through the years because we have them.
Okay.
And Angie mentioned it. So just something to note that if you're born between January 1st and February the 4th, you're actually the year prior, because the calendar doesn't start till February the 4th. It's typically 4th or the 5th, but more often not, it's the 4th. If you're born on the 4th or the 5th, you may want to consult. You have to consult an almanac and may have to, look that up. So
that actually happened to me. For years, I thought I was the year of the snake, but my birthday is January 22nd, and found out I was actually a dragon, which I was really excited about. But the same.
Dragon's good.
Happened.
Yeah.
So
Angie's a dragon.
Sometimes it happens the other way around. Like I have a good friend who for some reason rams are like, I wish I wasn't a ram, because in the Western world, I think being a sheep has like a really negative connotation.
Yeah.
And so she's like, but I'm born in the hour of the dragon. And I said, well, actually, you're born because she was born after daylight savings time, in the way that in the way that Laura and I was taught. Our teacher taught us to factor in daylight savings time. So she's really born in the hour of the rabbit, and she was pissed off. She did not, she just like, she would not talk about it. And like, I have another friend who he's like, yeah, I'm definitely monkey. And I was like, no, you're sheep. Yeah. Oh, and also like last year, this woman, like I met her at an event, and she said, yeah, my son's a tiger. I'm like, well, no. And she's like, no, he's a tiger. I said, whatever. Whatever.
It's good to believe that. Believe what you need to. It helps. It's good.
But we didn't talk about yin water either.
No. I can quickly. Well, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to quickly talk about yin water?
Okay, I'll start.
Okay, you start. Okay.
So
and then we'll go into the animals.
So there is elemental quality as well that works hand in hand. It integrates with the animal energy. So yin water, there's 5 elements in the Taoist system and that we use in Feng Shui: water, earth, wood, fire, and metal. This year is yin water. So there's also the yin and yang aspects. So yin water is small water, and so you could imagine like mist or light rain or dew in the morning. And this yin water quality, since it's in conjunction with the rabbit, who has the fixed element of wood, water, feeds wood. So it's actually beneficial for that rabbit energy this year. And there is a lot of other aspects to water. It's very resourceful. Water can move around obstacles. It always can flow. And it is also related to wisdom. Laura, you want to add more? Laura has a lot of water element. She embodies a lot of water.
I have a lot of water element in me. I think you touched on the really important ones. And water is, again, as she mentioned, wisdom. It is intuitive too. There's a real intuitive part of it. And I think thinking about it as misting the ground and being able to nourish is a really powerful visual for us this year. So we went away from the rushing water or the big water into misty, nice water that supports us and is nourishing, but yet not as exciting and not as much flow or opportunity maybe coming rushing at us. We can look at it maybe in a subtler way, which is the yin side of it. Yeah.
And subtle can be powerful. Okay,
Exactly.
So which animal do we start?
We'll start with rat. Yeah, we'll start with rat. I'll start. I am a rat. Rat years are 1948, 1960, 1972, 1984, 1996, 2008, and 2020. And rats overall embody resourcefulness. So for 2023, we are telling, say rats to align your energy with this peaceful rabbit and use that resourceful nature.
So next is, and there's actually an order, just like with the Western zodiac, right? They go in order. So the next in the sequence is the ox, and ox is 1949, 1961, 1973, 1985, 1997, 2009, and 2021. So oxens embody this energy of practicality. They, if you can imagine, an oxen takes on the load, and they are very grounded, connected to the earth, right? And so for 2023, the relationship with the rabbit is neutral. So for 2023, we have the suggestion that the ox people, those born in the year of the ox or with ox in their chart, can take some time to appreciate the beauty in the world instead of just kind of moving along with their head down. Learn a little bit from the rabbit, look around, appreciate the beauty in the world, the art. That art and beauty can be manifest in any kind of ordinary activity.
Next is the tiger. The tiger is 1950, 1962, 1974, 1986, 1998, 2010, and 2022. We talked a little bit about the tiger at the beginning. They embody that dynamic energy, dynamism, really move that movement, that power. And for 2023, it is moving out of the tiger year. There's going to be some relief, and they'll be able to pounce on, move, onto these opportunities like they want to. But again, all you tigers out there, you share that wood affinity with the rabbit. So just try and embrace some of that thoughtful energy. Try and learn a little bit from the rabbit, and look before you leap.
So next up is the rabbit. And that's years 1951, 1963, 1975, 1987, 1999, 2011, and 2023. So rabbits, we talked a lot about rabbits already, but rabbits in general embody a lot of grace. So for this year, since we talked about even though it's your year, it means challenging year, that you can try to use this yin water that we talked about, because it does support your fixed element. It supports your innate nature. Use that yin water, the softness, the hydration, the mist, the coolness, the wisdom to support you. And also look for opportunities to help others find more peace, because often when you have a challenging year, if you take the focus off of yourself, that's one of the ways that our teachers taught us to change your chi, change your energy by not just trying to help yourself all the time. And there's another nuance, like in our school, our BTB Feng Shui school, which is one of the many schools of Feng Shui, but the one that we practice is called BTB. One of the traditions is especially those born in the year of the rabbit, can utilize their secret best friend, which is the dog. So they have the best relationship with the dog. So you can carry around with you a 3-dimensional figurine of a dog, and you can fashion that any way you want, but it should be 3-dimensional. Or you could spend time with people born in the year of the dog. So Yolanda, I should get your address and send you one. I make these little charms.
I was gonna say, don't you all share? People even listening can go to your site and purchase the figurines if they like.
Yes.
And that's good for all of us, right? To carry the dog this year. Okay.
Yes, that's the secret best friend. But I'm gonna, later today, I'll get your mailing address and I'll send you one so you can have one.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Apparently I need it.
Yeah, next up is Dragon, which is both Angie and Yolanda. 1940, 1952, 1964, 1976, 1988, 2000, and 2012. Dragons embody strength. They're very strong and incredibly capable. And for 2023, it is a time for those dragons to continue to fly up high and into the sky where they can have this great vantage point, but just for them to regroup and gain a clear vision of where they want to go next. There's actually a lot of mutual respect between the dragon and the rabbit, but dragons may want to not try and be so dragony this year.
Okay.
Yeah, and and we'll talk about the dragon a little bit more since it's me and Yolanda. But I personally think that this relationship with the dragon and the rabbit is a lot about, again, like similar to what Laura said, like not being so high and mighty, like I'm this dragon that's taking care of everything and I'm magnificent and independent. And this year might humble us a little bit to get closer to the earth, maybe get closer down on other people's level, like be more compassionate with people that we may feel that we've always tried to be, bigger than. Like, I'm always like, I'll take the higher road, but maybe there's something that this year will challenge us to be more in the weeds and humble us. And also to take a more sensitive approach, because dragons can be very hands off, I think. And rather than going big, how do you go small? And how do you, again, like how do you feel like that animal of prey? What does it feel like to be a prey animal versus the dragon, which is kind of the complete opposite, right? So we have that challenge, I think, this year.
Very interesting. Well, I'm already feeling that energy of kind of revamping how I'm viewing things as it relates to every area of life, really. But yeah, good advice. Thank you.
But that's a good point. Yes, a different perspective. Like instead of the sky view, what does it look like when we're down below and touching the earth and getting our hands dirty and feeling cold and all of those things? So what does that mean for us this year?
I'm going to check on you, Angie, as the year goes on.
Okay. And we'll hang out with a lot of dogs, even though actually we have a challenging relationship with dog too. So it's an interesting thing. But in any case, let's move on to snake. So snakes are years 1941, 1953, 1965, 1977, 1989, 2001, and 2013. So snakes embody wisdom. They're really, that archetype of shedding your skin and looking at things in a new way. So this year, last year they had a challenging relationship with the tiger, so they probably shed their skin last year. And this year, it will be more easeful, and they can continue to align with their own wisdom and their grace with this energy of the rabbit.
Horse. 1942, 1954, 1966, 1978, 1990, 2002, and 2014. Horses embody freedom and independence. Just think about horse galloping down the beach and just, having that strength to do it. So horses will want to be that bold, fiery. There's a lot of fire in horses. So we say for horses, it's okay. You're probably just going to, for the most part, ignore the rabbit and just do your own thing. Find your stride. You can let your fiery nature go out and seek all these new adventures. But, again, take a page from the book of the rabbit and maybe try to, I don't know, if you're going to go on an adventure or something, maybe try to dial it more to self-care or, a little bit quieter.
So next up is ram. Rams are also known as sheep or goat. They are 1943, 1955, 1967, 1979, 1991, 2003, 2015. So rams embody compassion. And in 2023, ram, goat, sheep, they can really start to enjoy the energy of the year. They have a good relationship with the rabbit, actually. They form a harmony, so it's a positive, supportive year for them. And enjoy that kindness that they receive, but also offer it and reflect it to other people, and really be open to connection and community, because that's what they're really great at. And so again, this is a great year for those born in the year of the ram.
Lucky
Monkey. Monkey is 1944, 1956, 1968, 1980, 1992, 2004, and 2016. Monkeys are very clever and very charming and a little bit trickstery. Monkeys are going to they're going to be good. Just, let your monkey nature shine through, because the rabbit actually has, again, this affinity with the monkey, because they're both, the rabbit's quite cunning and the monkey's quite clever. And also the monkey's very charming. So the monkey is able to charm their way and to navigate this year. So, use your clever little monkey ways to move through this year.
So next up is Rooster. Rooster is 1945, 1957, 1969, 1981, 1993, 2005, and 2017. So roosters rule a roost. They embody a lot of confidence. They like to, peacock around. But unfortunately, this is one of your challenging years. And I think it's similar to a lot of what we spoke about with the dragon. So rabbit and rooster have a clash. And so for 2023, we invite you to also consider that quieter energy of the rabbit, and see this challenging year as an opportunity to embrace your sensitive side. It can be a strength. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the most confident. You don't have to have the prettiest feathers. And in fact, even if you try, it's not the energy of the year for that. So allow this quieter year to be something that supports you and that you can cultivate. And as we spoke about, those born in the year of the rooster would do well to carry that figurine of the dog, because for both rooster and dragon, it's quite a challenging relationship with the rabbit.
Dog. 1946, 1958, 1970, 1982, 1994, 2006, and 2018. Dogs embody honesty. Dogs are loyal, trusted. And in 2023, that loyal and fair-minded nature is really going to serve dogs well. Plus, as Angie mentioned earlier, they are the best friend. They're the secret best friend of the rabbit. So it's this perfect match. So again, great year for the dog. Go out, do your thing, and you're going to have the support of the rabbit there with you.
Yeah, and be kind. Hang out with the dragons and the roosters of the world, even though they may annoy you a little bit. Good. But offer your kindness and compassion to them. They need you this year. And the last but not least animal in the 12-year cycle, or actually just the 12 cycle is 12 because it's 12 years, 12 months. We talked about 12 hours. So the pig is also known as the boar, and they're in the years 1947, 1959, 1971, 1983, 1995, 2007, and 2019. And pigs truly embody authenticity. They are super diplomatic, and in 2023, this year, in the year of the rabbit, they can start to really enjoy the fruits of their hard work. You can allow yourself to indulge a little bit in self-care, because pigs love indulgence in the zodiac system. And the rabbit is also about comfort and being cozy. So tune into that energy.
That's a really good one. And so, my mind, I have so many questions for you, but I'm not going to ask any of them because I do know, again, that we can go to your podcast and get more detail about the energies for the signs. So, can you just let everyone know really quickly where your podcast, how we can find it?
It's called Holistic Spaces Podcast, and we did this one this week, past week, and then the week before. So there's part 1 and part 2. And we're also have a blog post, and if you get on our newsletter, we got the whole list that comes through to you. But we'll share a little bit more about the animals and about the years overall. And if you want to know even more, I think I mentioned this to Yolanda, that tomorrow we're doing a workshop, and we'll go into hours and months, as well as the most important part is to do 2 ceremonies that are actually made specifically for, remember I mentioned the smoothing the rough edges of the year? We do those 2. One is called the Golden Cicada, and the other is called Welcoming the Wealth Gods. So we do all that, and that's on tomorrow, Saturday, the 21st, to celebrate Lunar New Year. We do it on the New Year, the eve of the Lunar New Year. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to make sure people really, really hear this, especially if you heard something about your animal and you're like, hold on, Angie, hold on, Laura, what do I do about my year? But this is good for everyone. So you said the Golden Cicada clearing, you also do a welcoming of the New Year ceremony.
Yeah.
And anyone can come to this. And you also have a beautiful offer, a discount for, I have the link for people listening. So it's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, which is 11 a.m. here on the West Coast. And they can register and join online. Could you tell us a little bit more about it? Like, is everyone going to learn more about their personal sign?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's also being recorded. So if you can't make it tomorrow, you'll get a recording, and it's available until February 21st. So what we do is we generally go through each of the animals. We talk about a little more detail about the energy, and we give them your month and your days, or sorry, your month and your hours. And then we give you each a feng shui tip to do that's specifically for your animal. Then we go into 2 different visualization. One is a Golden Cicada, which is about resetting your own personal chi. So it's like you kind of peel everything off that came the year before so that you can start fresh. And it's like almost like a protection visualization that you do for the upcoming year. And then we roll into a really beautiful visualization called Welcoming the Wealth Gods, which is about opening your home and your life for more abundance and wealth. And these are all traditional Black Sect BTB.
Yeah, no, we should. We'll invite you.
Yeah, we'll send you a link.
Come as our guest, please.
Oh, thank you. Right before my birthday, I'm all, clear me whatever you have to do, because I got to balance this dragon stuff out. So speaking of this, I know that you all also have, there's 2 very exciting things, actually. You have some new classes coming up in the Mindful Design Feng Shui school that you all run, and those will begin in the spring. And we can just learn more about that on the website, right?
Yeah.
And is that for any level? Where those classes be? If I don't know anything about feng shui, I can come. Okay.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Then Angie has a new book about mindful homes that's coming out in April of 2023. Congratulations. Could you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yes, of course. And after this call, I'll get your address also, so my publicist can send you a book too, in case you want to review it on the podcast. So it's called Mindful Homes, and it's interesting because my first book, Holistic Spaces, was originally written almost a decade ago, and so much has changed. And that was when I just first started learning about feng shui. I mean, I had been a practitioner for a decade at that point, but I felt very confident to give tips and teach people and instruct people. But now that, it's been another 10 years almost, I've found that my understanding and how I would like to share feng shui when the world has really deepened and matured in such a way that it's not about giving tips as much as how can we start to see Feng Shui as a mindfulness practice, because I'm also a mindfulness or meditation practitioner. And I spend a lot of, like, as many weeks as I can every year going on meditation retreats. And so how can we start to see that we don't necessarily need to fix ourselves and have a to-do list, checklist of things that we need to fix in our home, but instead start to see our home as an opportunity to connect with our outer environments and start to see that our outer environments are not separate from our inner environments, and start to see that connection, and also see our homes as a living being that we can work with. So it has a different sort of approach. There are aspects of the more mundane aspects of Feng Shui, like where, this is how you would arrange your home. But the beauty of Feng Shui is that it's connecting the visible and the invisible. So then, yes, you would move maybe or rearrange your position in a room, but why? And how does that shift your perspective on your view of your life or how you move through your life? So I'm really exploring that a lot. And so I'm really excited because it was a very emotional process for me to write the book. And I think I put so much into it, and I could see how I've shifted so much in the last
That's
decade.
really beautiful. And it's interesting, I think, for the work that both of you do. I mean, with the new book, and of course, I would love to discuss it once it comes out so we can share with everyone. But even with the classes that you all teach, it seems like with the times that we've been in, people have been more aware of their relationship to home because, one, we were forced to be home. But then also now, a lot more people are working remotely versus in the past. I mean, there are so many people after the pandemic who continue to work from home. A lot of companies are now offering this as an option where it wasn't one before. So it seems like it would be really beneficial for all of us to have more understanding of our space, especially because we seem to collectively be spending more time in our personal spaces.
Yes, you're completely right on the nose with that, because I was just having a conversation with someone about this today. And I've seen it in my design practice because I'm also an architect. Most of the builders I know, as well as myself, designers, architects, are completely inundated with work right now. Like typically this time of year is very slow for me. Like people don't start renovations from December 15th to January 15th. But even this past Sunday, I had 3 people on one day email me inquiring about my design services for a home renovation, because I do home renovations, and it's very atypical. And so the builders I talked to, they're telling me, yes, I'm regularly turning away very good work every week in the past few months. So people are very much more attuned to their home because we've spent so much more time in our homes. So it's an interesting shift in our worldview right now.
Yeah. And so I know we only have a few minutes left, but I have to ask you both this too. With that, with us being more connected to home, and then if we have more mindfulness, like the instruction that we can learn from you in the Mindful Design School, I would imagine that would have some impact on even how we're relating to each other. Because if we're kind of bringing it in, like even if it was initially by force, it just seems like that would do something to the nature of not just our relationship to ourselves, but maybe having more mindfulness and awareness in our interactions, or even wanting to be more aware of the environments we're inviting people into, because now we're hyper aware of every environment we go into. That's another thing. This really made us like so like, crazy about every environment we go into. Like we're on high alert. But so what has come up for you each for that?
I see it a lot in our students and that come to us to study. They have tuned into their own I'll call it gifts or intuition about how they feel in different spaces. And they understand that there's something there. And they know that this practice provides them with a framework that they can better use it and then maybe actually help others with it. So our students often come to this practice, out of curiosity, going, do I really have something here? Am I is this really what I'm experiencing? And then when it gets validated through all the tools and frameworks that we have in this practice that we've been taught, and that's 4,000 years of history. And it's I find that there's more and more students that are coming with this because they're becoming much more aware of it. It's almost like a zeitgeist, like it's coming all over, I feel.
Right. Wow. Well, I'm really glad that we got to have this conversation with you both again, because I genuinely didn't even think about the perfect timing of it, and considering what we've all gone through collectively and how your work really does align to support us in that. But I want to thank you again for sharing about the energy of the new year, because one of the things I think, because of what we've all gone through, not to say, I mean, a lot of us have had great years, even within this strange and crazy times. But I think now we're also, always wondering, like, what's next and how do I deal with what's next? So what you shared was very insightful, and I really do appreciate that. So I do want to let everyone know again, tomorrow, it's just tomorrow. And if you can't go live, you get access to the recording just by registering for the class. And just for that golden cicada clearing alone, I think we could all use a little bit of that, right? So it's at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. There's a link below, as I mentioned, where you get the access to the class for 50% off. I'll see you there. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us about the year? Any tip before we go?
Yeah, we have a few fun, simple tips that people can do this coming weekend, right? So
Okay.
it's Sunday is the actual Lunar New Year. And one thing that you could think about doing this year is you could add some red somewhere in your home, but it would be really nice if you added it to where you're sharing a meal. So again, we said this coming together, this community, adding that red is A, celebratory, but B, red in Feng Shui is a very powerful color. It supersedes all other things in terms of its power. And it's about protection. It's about celebration. And if you intentionally bring that somehow, I mean, red flowers, red, bowl for your food, red runner, you can get creative. But that would be one thing that we would say. Anjie, do you want to share another one?
Yes, and the second one would be to utilize some fresh fruit in your home. Specifically, we like to recommend a bowl of 9 fresh oranges in your kitchen. So the number 9 is the most auspicious number in Feng Shui. It's the number of completion. Oranges are considered a very abundant fruit, as they are the color of gold, the shape of gold, and they are very, they invite prosperity and abundance. And then the kitchen aspect is that your kitchen represents your nourishment and how you care for yourself and how well you do in the world. So adding that bowl of 9 fresh oranges in your kitchen has a lot of importance, especially around the new year. And yes, you can eat them, which is a question we always get.
Yes, I was actually about to ask, but I just wanted to ask you really quick. I know it's like so tight, but is there any recommendation, because a lot of us have home offices now, is there anything in particular we might put in that space to support that type of energy, or is it dependent on the location?
You can add red to your desk if you want it. The same thing applies. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can add it somewhere intentionally that just to lift the chi of your office overall. It's a good way. Red is a color that can correct a lot of faults. So it can clear a lot. And then the other one I was going to say, which is for your home, but you can absolutely do it for your office, is do an intentional energetic sweep of the home. And you don't actually need to collect dust bunnies, but if you do, that's a bonus. The idea is that you're moving the chi. So you're going to visualize chi which I know for your listeners, they can get there, they understand that concept.
Right.
You know, get into the corners, get into the dark areas, and just move the chi out. And if you feel that this past year, you need to sweep it right out the front door, go for it. Just sweep it right out the front door. If you feel that, you know what, things were pretty good, I just want to get stuff moving, then just, you know, sweep the corners, you know, move things around. So that's another one. So you could do that for your office
Very
area,
cool.
work
Yeah.
area.
When you said, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put my red envelope on my desk. I'm gonna leave it here all year. Thank you so much. So everyone, I mean, the links will be down in the show description. I can't thank you enough, Angie and Laura. Everyone, make sure to visit the Mindful Design School online. I will have the links for that below, but I hope to see you tomorrow in the class so that we can all clear and get ready and reset for the new year. And again, we look forward to your book coming out. Yeah, I mean, as soon as Mindful Homes comes out, we will definitely have you back on the podcast. So I hope everyone has a beautiful new year, a beautiful lunar new year, and we will see you all very soon.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Yes. Okay, beautiful alchemist. I want to thank again Anjie Cho and Laura Morris for joining us today. They are again the founders of the Mindful Design School, and you are invited to join us tomorrow for the New Year preparation and ceremonies. There is the Golden Cicada clearing that will help to clear and reset our energy, as well as the Welcoming the New Year energy with prosperity ceremony that they mentioned. Like I mentioned, there is a 50% discount link down in the show description, and I really hope to see you there. I'm very excited about it, especially considering what they said the new year may be like for Dragon. Although I have to admit, I think it's kind of cool to the way that Angie described it, instead of having a bird's eye view looking from I don't know, the rabbit's eye view this year. It should be really interesting. But I'm sure you want to know more detail about the energy of this year for you and find out your animal of the month and the animal of your hour, like Angie shared with me. So I will see you tomorrow in their class. I also want to let you know that I have been working on some things in the background to share with you. As most of you know, I have the Energetic Alchemist Oracle deck, and you can order that online. I have, for a very short window, opened up the international orders again. I hope that it works out this time. We had some complications before. The decks were delivered, but it's just a bit of confusion around whether or not you have to pay duties once it arrives. However, if you want the deck and you are in the UK, Canada, or Mexico, there is a short window where the international orders are open again. I also want to make it very convenient for you, all of the offerings. I have the Alchemy Circle restarting in March. I am about to launch an app where you can conveniently access the podcast, my classes, some free content, all kinds of juicy information to support you in your energetic alchemy. And I'm very excited to share all of this with you. So stay tuned. But if you have not yet already signed up for my newsletter, I recommend that you do that. You get access to some free gifts. One is 22 days of transformation. Now, if you're already on my newsletter and you already have access to 22 days of transformation, you want to log back in and check it out again because it has been updated. So 22 days of transformation is a free gift from me to you. Just sign up for my newsletter to access that. And there are some classes that are 50% off on my website right now as well. There's so much goodness just to prepare you for this new year. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I look forward to sharing with you in season 10 of Reiki Radio, and I will see you very, very soon. Remember, always journey in love.